I've heard for years the Picnic is a great conference and that it's kind of the South by Southwest of Europe because we put everything in American terms, don't we? I was supposed to be here 2 years ago and there was a scheduling mess up, and then last year I had prostate surgery right about now, so I couldn't come, so finally I'd be at the Picnic. I'm a cockeyed optimist about journalism because I teach journalism to young people who are starting businesses. I teach entrepreneurial journalism. We just announced at City University of New York, where I teach, the foundation of the Tao Knight Center for Entrepreneurial Journalism. And we're going to establish the country's first MA degree in entrepreneurial journalism and do research to bring specifics. And also, I hope, if I get the right funding, invest in and incubate new journalistic enterprises and platforms. Efficiency, I think, number one. That's the advantage they have to disrupt others. If you look in Washington, D.C., TBD, started by Politico, has 50 staffers, 35 journalists, working with a network of so far 150 blogs. They do what they do best and link to the rest. They're highly efficient. Against the Washington Post, which has, 750 in the newsroom, 2,000 employees total. And that's the disparity that's going to be very difficult. We talk a lot about on the business side about two revenue streams, of course, which is advertising and circulation revenue. We don't often talk about the efficiency, and the internet really brings us that because it allows journalism to be collaborative and specialized, and it allows you to just do what you do best and link to the rest. And I think that's an important part of this. That doesn't mean that there are necessarily fewer journalists. There probably are somewhat fewer, but it doesn't mean there are none. It means that journalists will specialize. There won't be 10 people covering the same story. We're going to change the flavor of journalism. I think at the same time, journalists will be closer to their communities, more answerable and accountable to their communities, and will be doing more valuable work rather than commodity work and production work. Well, I think that we structured news before around brands because that's the way it worked. We kind of bought your paper, what's your show? And of course, search changed that it flips at 180 and the transaction starts with a question. If you have an answer, you're there. If you don't, you don't. And now, of course, the power of the human link through Twitter and Facebook and all that. So it changes the distribution mechanism for all journalism, I think, which is part of your question about attention. How are we going to find people? Well, we have to go to them. We can't expect them to come to us anymore. We have to make our stuff embeddable and spreadable, like peanut butter. Well, I think we're always been opinionated. And we as journalists tried to fake the world out, especially in America, and act as if we were not. I think the system in Europe is much better in that you see the heart on the sleeve and know where it is, and then it's a question of intellectual honesty and is your reporting complete and so on. Whereas in the U.S. we've had this myth of objectivity, which it is, and I think that it made journalists separate from the public. It made them kind of less human in a way. So I'm glad that in the U.S. we're learning the lesson of Europe and learning that democracy is a cacophony of voices, and the more voices we have, the better. European markets also, of course, have long had competitive national marketplaces with variety. In the U.S., because of our distance, we've had monopoly markets where journalism became one size fits all and very, very dull. So I think that's all good. The other thing about all this is that I think that we in media tend to look at the internet in our own image, godlike, and think that it's a medium. It's not. It's where people talk and connect and do stuff. And so when we try to judge what's there and think that it's like a newspaper, it's not. It's people talking. And the question we have to ask is, how do we add value to that?